If you're selling your home for sale by owner, let's talk about the two things I mentioned in the previous video. First, the idea that a home actually has to be sold 3 different times before that sold sign ever goes outside the property. The first time is when the buyer decides to make an offer. Most sellers focus all their attention on that moment, but that's only the beginning of the process. The second time the home has to be sold is during the inspection period. That's when the buyer evaluates the condition of the property and decides whether to move forward, renegotiate, or walk away. And the third time the home has to be sold is when the lender and the appraiser approve the deal. If the appraisal comes in lower than the agreed price, or if the financing falls apart, the transaction can fail even after everyone thought the deal was done. That's why many experienced agents say a home is actually sold 3 different times before it truly closes. Now, let's talk about the second point I mentioned. Sometimes a home that doesn't sell ends up doing something most sellers never expect. It actually helps sell the competition. That happens because buyers rarely look at just one house. They usually compare several homes in the same price range and neighborhood. During that process, one property often becomes what I call a reference property. It becomes the home buyers use to compare everything else. Sometimes that reference property is the one that ends up selling. But other times, it simply helps buyers feel more confident choosing another home. This is one of the reasons positioning a property correctly in the market is so important. In Michigan right now, homes are selling on average in about 19 days. When a property stays on the market longer than that, buyers start asking questions. They begin wondering if something might be wrong with the home, the price, or the condition. When I preview a home for someone selling by owner, I can show you what the timeline looks like in your specific area. I can show you how long homes like yours are taking to sell, and how many showings similar properties are typically receiving each week. That helps you understand whether your property is performing normally in the market, or if it might need adjustments. When I preview a home for someone selling by owner, I also provide a few things that many sellers find helpful. The FSBO toolkit, which includes practical resources and information that many homeowners find useful while selling on their own. The contracts and paperwork you'll need if a buyer decides to submit an offer, so you're not scrambling to figure that out at the last minute. A review of your Zillow or online listing to see if there are simple improvements that could attract more attention. Comparable sales in your area, so you can see how homes similar to yours are priced and how you might adjust or position the property if needed. A complimentary in-home consultation with practical tips on how to prepare the property so it shows at its best when buyers walk through the door. And weekly market updates, so you always know what's happening with homes similar to yours while you're selling. There is also a backup option connected to the paperwork, which I will explain when we meet in person, just so you know you have a safety net if you ever need it. Another thing I offer homeowners who are selling on their own is something I call the Maximum Exposure Open House. Some homeowners like the idea because it can bring additional buyer traffic and visibility to the property. If that's something that interests you, I can host a professionally marketed open house for your home. I handle the promotion, the preparation, and the event itself. There is no cost to you for doing this. And if the buyer for the property happens to come from that open house, it remains your buyer and your sale, not mine. The goal is simply to create more exposure and more potential buyers walking through the property, which sometimes helps generate additional interest. And if it's not something you want to do, that's perfectly fine as well. I do these things for a simple reason. I genuinely enjoy what I do, and I enjoy helping homeowners succeed, even if they end up selling their home on their own. Maybe we won't work together today, maybe tomorrow, or maybe you'll simply remember how I helped you and recommend me to someone else. And honestly, there's no better recommendation than someone who has seen how I work and how committed I am to helping people. If you'd like the FSBO toolkit, a market updates, or if you're curious about the Maximum Exposure Open House, we can simply schedule a quick preview of the property. No pressure, no strings attached. and whether you eventually decide to keep selling on your own or later choose to work with a professional, I'm here to help.